The police told me that nobody had lived in apartment 307 for over 3 years. But every night at exactly 2:13 a.m., my phone received a voicemail from inside that apartment. The worst part wasn't the message itself. It was the voice leaving it. Because the voice belonged to me. Story start. My name is Daniel Carter. I never believed in ghosts. I never believed in haunted places, cursed houses, or stories people tell around a campfire just to scare each other. I was the kind of person who needed proof. A photograph, a recording, something real, something I could see. But everything changed after I moved into Willow Creek Apartments in Portland, Oregon. At first, the place seemed completely normal. It was an old building, but not the creepy kind you see in horror movies. No broken window, no abandoned rooms, no strange rumors. Just a regular apartment complex filled with regular people. Families, college students, older couples. And one apartment nobody talked about. Apartment 307. The first time I noticed it was when I was moving my furniture inside. My new apartment was right across the hallway from it. I remember looking at the door. The number 307 was slightly scratched. The paint around the handle was darker than the rest of the hallway, like someone had touched it thousands of times. I asked the landlord about it. His name was Mr. Reynolds. He was an older man who had managed the building for almost 20 years. When I mentioned apartment 307, his expression changed, only for a second. But I noticed. That apartment is empty, he said. Nobody rents it anymore. I laughed. Why? Bad plumbing? He didn't laugh back. No, he paused. Something else. I waited for him to explain, but he simply handed me the keys and walked away. At that moment, I thought he was just being dramatic. Old buildings always have stories. Every apartment has rumors. I didn't think much about it until my first night. Around 2 a.m., I woke up because of a sound. At first, I thought it was my neighbor. Someone dropping something, maybe moving furniture. But then I heard it again. 3 slow knocks from across the hallway. Apartment 307. Knock. 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 I sat up in bed. The strange thing was, the hallway was completely silent. No footsteps, no voices, nothing. I walked to my door and looked through the peephole. The hallway lights were flickering. And apartment 307. The door was slightly open. I froze, because I was sure that door was locked earlier. I grabbed my phone and stepped outside. Hello? No answer. The door moved slightly, almost like someone had pushed it from inside. I should have walked away. Every part of my brain told me to go back inside. But curiosity is dangerous, especially at night. I slowly walked toward the apartment, and that's when I heard something. A phone ringing. Inside apartment 307. The phone kept ringing. A slow, old-fashioned ringtone. Not the kind of ringtone people use anymore. It sounded like a phone from the early 2000s. The kind with a small screen and physical buttons. I stood outside apartment 307, staring at the half-open door. Every logical thought in my mind was telling me the same thing. Leave. But another part of me wanted to know who was inside. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. Hello? My voice sounded different in that hallway. Smaller, like the building was swallowing my words. I pushed the door open. The apartment was dark, completely dark. The smell hit me first, a strange combination of old wood, dust, and something I couldn't identify. The air felt heavy, like nobody had breathed inside that room for years. I stepped inside. "Hello? Is anyone here?" No response, only the sound of the phone ringing. I followed the sound into the living room, and there it was. A small black phone sitting on the floor, right in the middle of the room, still ringing. The strange thing was, there was no power, no furniture, no electricity, nothing. But the phone was working. I slowly reached down and picked it up. The moment my fingers touched it, the ringing stopped. The screen turned on. One notification appeared. One new voicemail. I stared at the screen. The phone didn't ask for a password. It didn't show a missed call, only the voicemail notification. I pressed play. At first, there was only static, a low buzzing sound. Then, a voice. A man's voice. Whispering, "Daniel." My entire body froze, because the voice knew my name. I looked around the empty apartment. "Who is this?" The voicemail continued. "Daniel, if you're hearing this," a pause, a long pause, "don't open the bedroom door." My heart started beating faster. I looked toward the hallway. At the end of it was a closed bedroom door. I had not noticed it before. The voice continued. "You have exactly 3 minutes." Static. Then another whisper. "After that, it knows you're here." The voicemail ended. I stood completely still, trying to process what I had just heard. A stranger's voice. A phone inside an abandoned apartment. And somehow, it knew my name. I told myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe someone was playing a prank. Maybe someone in the building knew I moved in. Maybe the landlord was trying to scare the new tenant. There had to be a normal reason. There always is. Until I heard the bedroom door handle move. Slowly. Very slowly. The metal handle started turning. My blood went cold. I stepped backward. The bedroom door was locked from the inside. I could see it. The lock was moving. Someone was trying to open it. I grabbed my phone. I wanted to call the police. But before I could unlock my screen, the phone in my hand received another voicemail. A new notification appeared. Voicemail received. 2 seconds ago, I stared at it. Because the phone was not connected to any network. There was no SIM card, no signal, nothing. My hands were shaking as I pressed play. This time, the voice was louder, and I recognized it immediately. It was my own voice. "Daniel." A deep breath. "You're still standing there." The bedroom handle stopped moving. The voice continued. "That's exactly what I did." I felt a cold sensation move through my entire body, because now I understood. The voicemail wasn't warning me about what would happen. It was describing something that had already happened. The recording continued. "I thought I had time. I thought I could escape, but I was wrong." A loud noise came from the bedroom. Something hit the other side of the door, hard. The entire wall shook. My own voice whispered, "Whatever you do, don't look behind you." I stopped breathing, because at that exact moment, I heard footsteps. Behind me. Slow footsteps. Coming from the living room entrance. I was standing in the middle of the apartment. The bedroom was in front of me. The exit was behind me. And something was now standing between me and the door. I wanted to turn around. Every instinct in my body screamed to look. But the voicemail was still playing. My own voice said, "Don't look." That's how it learns your face. The footsteps stopped, right behind me. I could feel someone standing there. Close. Too close. Then, a whisper came from behind my shoulder. A voice that sounded almost human. Almost. Daniel. I closed my eyes. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then my phone screen suddenly lit up. Another voicemail. New message received. The timestamp showed tomorrow. 2:13 a.m. My hands went numb because tomorrow hadn't happened yet. I don't remember leaving apartment 307. I don't remember opening the door. I don't remember running back to my apartment. The only thing I remember is waking up on my bedroom floor. My phone was beside me. The strange black phone from apartment 307 was gone. For a few minutes, I convinced myself it was a nightmare, a stress reaction, something my brain created, until I checked my own phone. There was one new voicemail from my own number, received at 2:13 a.m. I pressed play, and this time, the voice wasn't scared. It wasn't whispering. It sounded calm, almost happy. My voice said, "Good morning, Daniel." A pause. "Now I know where you live." Sat there, staring at my phone, waiting for something else to happen. A knock on the door, a sound from the hallway. Anything. But nothing came. The apartment was silent. The kind of silence that doesn't feel peaceful. The kind that feels like something is waiting. I replayed the voicemail again, and again, and again, hoping I would hear something different. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe the recording wasn't my voice. Maybe there was some explanation. But every time I played it, I heard the same thing. My voice. My exact voice. Saying, "Good morning, Daniel. Now I know where you live." I checked my call history. There was nothing. I checked the voicemail details. No number, no location, no information. It was like the message had appeared from nowhere. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. When the sun finally came up, I packed a bag. I decided I was leaving. I didn't care about the apartment. I didn't care about losing my deposit. I didn't care if people thought I was crazy. I just wanted to get away from that building. But when I opened my front door, I stopped, because something was lying on the floor outside. A small white envelope. My name was written on it. Daniel Carter. The handwriting was mine. I knew it immediately, the same way you recognize your own reflection. I looked down the hallway. Apartment 307 was closed. Everything looked normal. I picked up the envelope. Inside was a single piece of paper. Only one sentence was written. "You should have listened to yourself." My hand started shaking, because underneath that sentence, there was a date. A date from 3 years ago. I went straight to Mr. Reynolds' office. I didn't even knock. He looked surprised when he saw me. "Daniel?" I placed the envelope on his desk. The moment he saw the handwriting, his face changed. He looked scared. Not confused. Not curious. Scared. "Where did you get this?" "Outside my apartment." He stared at me. "Did you go inside?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. His silence told me everything. "You went into 307. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Tell me what happened there." He looked toward the office door. Then he closed the blinds. "Daniel, you need to leave this building." I tried, but something is happening. He sat down slowly. For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. 3 years ago, apartment 307 belonged to a man named Ethan Miller. Quiet guy. Worked from home. Nobody really knew him. I listened carefully. One night, neighbors called because they heard screaming. When police arrived, the apartment was empty. No sign of Ethan. No blood. No struggle. Nothing. I frowned. Then why was the apartment abandoned? Mr. Reynolds looked at me. Because 2 days later, Ethan came back. A cold feeling moved through my body. What do you mean? He walked into the building at 3 a.m. The security camera recorded him entering. He looked normal. But when police questioned him, he claimed he had never left. I stared at him. That doesn't make sense. I know. Mr. Reynolds opened a drawer. He pulled out an old security camera photo, a blurry image. A man standing in the hallway, looking directly at the camera. My stomach dropped, because the man looked familiar. Too familiar. It was Ethan Miller. But there was something else. The man was holding a phone. A black phone. The same phone I found in apartment 307, Mr. Reynolds continued. After that night, strange things started happening. People received calls from inside the apartment. Voicemails from people who weren't there anymore. Messages from the future. I looked at him. What happened to Ethan? Mr. Reynolds didn't answer immediately. Then he said, he disappeared again. Except this time, he left something behind. What? Mr. Reynolds looked directly at me. Another version of himself. I left his office feeling worse than before, because now I knew one thing. Apartment 307 wasn't haunted, at least not in the way people thought. Something else was happening, something I couldn't explain. I went back to my apartment to get my belongings. I was leaving. No questions, no investigation, no curiosity. But when I entered my bedroom, I noticed something strange. My closet door was open. I always kept it closed. Inside was my old suitcase. I hadn't used it since moving in. I pulled it out, and underneath it was another envelope. My handwriting. Again. This time, the message was longer. It said, "If you're reading this, it means I failed. You probably think you can leave. You can't. The apartment isn't the place it started. It's the place it ends." Below the message was another sentence, one that made my blood run cold. "Check your security camera." I didn't own a security camera. At least, I thought I didn't. But when I checked my phone, there was a new app installed, an app I had never downloaded. The icon was simple, a black door. The name, 307 Viewer. My finger hovered over the screen. I knew I shouldn't open it, but I already knew. I was going to. I pressed it. The screen loaded. A live camera feed appeared. My apartment, my living room, my front door. I was watching myself, standing there, holding my phone. But there was one problem. The camera angle was impossible, because the camera was inside my apartment, behind me, near the ceiling. And then, the person on the screen moved. I wasn't moving. The version of me in the video slowly turned around, looking directly into the camera. Then it smiled and whispered, "Finally." The screen went black. A new voicemail appeared. Received. 2 minutes ago I pressed play. My own voice said, "Daniel, whatever you do, don't trust the person looking back at you." I dropped my phone. For a few seconds I couldn't move. My brain was trying to understand what I had just seen. The camera feed, the impossible angle, the person who looked exactly like me, and that smile. That was the part I couldn't forget. It wasn't a normal smile. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the expression of someone who had been waiting for a very long time. Waiting for me. I slowly looked around my apartment. The room was empty. At least, I thought it was. "Hello?" My voice sounded weak. No answer. I walked toward the living room. Every step felt heavier. I checked behind the couch. Nothing. The kitchen? Nothing. The bathroom? Nothing. I wanted to believe it was a glitch, a hacked app, a fake video, anything. But then I noticed something on my kitchen counter. A coffee mug. My coffee mug. Except, I had never seen it before. It was black, with a small white number printed on it. 307 inside the mug was a folded piece of paper. My hands were shaking when I opened it. 3 words. "You are next." I grabbed my keys and left immediately. I didn't even lock the door. I just needed to get out. The elevator was at the end of the hallway. As I walked toward it, I heard something. A door opening. Behind me. Apartment 307. I stopped. Slowly, I turned around. The hallway was empty, but the door to apartment 307 was open. Again. I knew I should keep walking, but then I heard a sound. A voice. A familiar voice. My voice. "Daniel." I froze. The voice came from inside apartment 307. "Don't leave." I stepped backward. The voice continued. "I know what you're thinking. You think if you leave this building, everything ends." A pause. "It doesn't." I stood there, unable to move, because the voice sounded scared, not threatening. Scared. "I need you to understand something." "I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to stop it," I whispered. "Who are you?" The apartment became silent. Then the answer came. "I am the reason you received the first voicemail." My heart stopped. What? A shadow moved inside the apartment. Someone was standing in the darkness. 3 years ago, Ethan Miller discovered something. He found a way to record moments that hadn't happened yet. He thought it was a gift, but it wasn't. It was a door. The figure stepped closer. I could finally see him, and my entire body went cold, because he looked exactly like me. Same face, same eyes, same scar above my eyebrow, except older. Much older. His face looked exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in years. "Who are you?" He looked at me, then said, "I'm you." I wanted to run. Every instinct told me this was impossible. A person cannot be 2 places. A person cannot meet themselves. But there he was, standing 10 feet away, looking at me like he had seen this moment before. Because maybe he had. "You don't have much time," he said. "What happens?" He looked toward the bedroom of apartment 307. "The apartment doesn't create copies. It replaces people." I felt my stomach drop. "What does that mean?" He looked at me. "When you entered this apartment, you weren't alone anymore." I remembered the footsteps behind me, the voice, the feeling of something standing behind my shoulder. My breathing became faster. "What was behind me?" He didn't answer. Instead, he asked, "Did you look?" "No." "Good." He looked relieved. "Because if you had, it would already know everything about you." I shook my head. "This is impossible." I said the same thing. He walked toward me. I spent 3 years trying to escape. Every time I thought I was free, I received another voicemail, another warning, another message from myself. He looked down. Until I realized something. "What?" He stared into my eyes. The messages weren't trying to save me. They were guiding me. A cold silence filled the hallway. "Guiding you where?" He pointed behind me. I slowly turned. Apartment 307. The door was open. Inside the darkness, something moved. Not a person, not an object. Something else. The older version of me whispered, "It's almost time." "Time for what?" He looked terrified. "Time for you to become the message." Suddenly, every light in the hallway turned off. Complete darkness. I heard movement. Fast movement. Coming from apartment 307. Then a whisper. Not from the older me. Not from behind me. From everywhere. "Daniel." The voice sounded like mine, but wrong. Distorted. Like something trying to imitate a human. "Which one of you is the original?" I couldn't move. The older version of me grabbed my arm. "Run." We ran toward the elevator, but before the doors closed, I looked back. I wish I hadn't. Standing inside apartment 307 was another version of me. Not older, not younger, exactly like me. The same clothes, the same phone in his hand, the same expression. He smiled and raised the phone. A voicemail notification appeared on my screen. New message received. Sender, Daniel Carter. Time, tomorrow, 2:13 a.m. I pressed play. My own voice whispered, "Stop trying to find the real Daniel." A pause. Because there isn't one anymore. The elevator doors closed, but as we went down, the older version of me looked at my phone. His face changed. "What?" I asked. He pointed at the screen. A new notification appeared. Not a voicemail, a photo. Taken moments ago. It showed the elevator. Me and him. But there was a third person standing behind us. A person neither of us noticed. The caption below the photo said, "The replacement has arrived." The elevator stopped. Not on the first floor. Not in the lobby. It stopped between floors. The lights flickered once. Then everything went dark. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the emergency alarm clicking softly above us. I looked at the older version of myself. He wasn't surprised. That scared me more than anything. "You knew this would happen." He didn't answer. "Didn't you?" Slowly, he looked at me. "Every time." My heart sank. "What do you mean every time?" He leaned against the elevator wall. His face looked exhausted, like someone who had been carrying a secret for years. "Daniel, this isn't the first time we have had this conversation." I stared at him. "What?" "I have told you everything before." "No, you haven't." He looked down. That's what I said too. The elevator lights turned on again, but something was different. The emergency panel beside the door was glowing. The floor numbers were changing, except they weren't normal numbers. Then, I felt a cold wave move through my body. "We're not in the elevator anymore." The older me whispered, "Don't look at the doors." Why? Because if they open, it knows we are ready. Before I could ask what he meant, the elevator made a sound. Ding. The doors started opening. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to see. I heard breathing. Someone standing outside. Then a voice. My voice. "Daniel." The older me grabbed my shoulder. "Don't answer." The voice continued. "You don't need him. You need me." I kept my eyes closed. The voice sounded exactly like me. But there was something underneath it. Something empty. Something pretending. "Open your eyes, Daniel." I didn't. "Open your eyes." The voice became louder. "Open your eyes." The elevator shook violently. Then suddenly, silence. After a few seconds, the older version of me whispered, "It's gone." I opened my eyes. The elevator doors were closed, but the floor display was different. It showed. Ground floor. We stepped out. The lobby was empty. Everything looked normal. Too normal. The security desk, the chairs, the front entrance. All exactly the way they should be. For the first time in hours, I felt hope. Maybe it was over. Maybe we escaped. Then I noticed something. The clock above the reception desk. It was frozen. At 2:13 a.m., the older version of me looked at it. His expression changed. No. What? He stepped backward. We didn't escape. Then where are we? He looked at me. This is where it begins. We walked outside. The parking lot was empty. My car was still there. Everything looked normal, except for one thing. The building, Willow Creek Apartments. It wasn't there. Behind us was a completely different building, an old apartment complex, abandoned, broken windows, cracked walls, and above the entrance, a sign. Willow Creek Apartments, but underneath it was another name, a name that made my blood run cold. Miller Residence. What is this place? The older version of me didn't answer. He walked toward the entrance. I followed. Inside, the building looked nothing like before. The hallway was darker. The walls were covered with old photographs, hundreds of them. I walked closer. They were pictures of people, different people, families, couples, children, all standing inside apartment 307. And in every picture, there was one person, a person standing in the background, watching. Me. Who are these people? The older me stopped walking. They were all like us. Like us? People who received the voicemail. I looked at the pictures again. How many? He whispered. Everyone who lived here after Ethan. I looked at him. How many people? He didn't answer. Because we both saw it. A photograph hanging at the end of the hallway. A recent one. The date was printed underneath. Today. The picture showed apartment 307. Inside were two people. Me, and the older version of me, standing beside a third person. I stepped closer. My hand started shaking, because the third person was me, but different. His eyes were completely black, and underneath the picture was a message. 3 Daniels entered. Only one leaves. The older version of me grabbed the photograph and ripped it off the wall. Listen carefully. His voice was serious. You cannot trust anything you see here. Not me. Not yourself. Not even your memories. What are you saying? He looked at me. The apartment doesn't copy your body. It copies your life. I didn't understand. It takes your memories, your emotions, your fears, everything that makes you who you are. He pointed toward the hallway. And then it creates something that knows you better than you know yourself. A sound came from upstairs. Footsteps, slow, heavy, coming down. The older me looked terrified. What? He whispered. It's here. Who? He looked at the staircase, then said, The first Daniel. A figure appeared at the top of the stairs, walking slowly, step by step, closer. I couldn't see his face, but I already knew, because he was wearing my clothes, holding my phone, and walking exactly like me. The figure stopped, then smiled. Finally, he said, all 3 of us are together. The older version of me whispered, Daniel. I looked at him. What? He pointed at the figure. That's not the replacement. My heart stopped. Then what is it? He answered. That's the original. The figure at the stairs raised his phone. A voicemail notification appeared on all 3 of our phones. Same message, same time, same sender. Daniel Carter. I pressed play. A voice whispered, You finally found the truth. But the truth is worse than the lie. A pause. Then, you were never trapped inside apartment 307. Apartment 307 was trapped inside you. The message ended, and every light in the building turned off. In the darkness, 3 voices whispered at the same time. Which one of us is real? For a few seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The darkness around us felt alive. 3 people. 3 identical voices. 3 versions of the same person. And none of us knew who was real. Then the emergency lights turned on. A dim red glow filled the hallway. I looked at the other 2 Daniels, the one standing on the stairs, the older one beside me, and myself. My first thought was simple. One of them has to be lying. But the terrifying part was, I couldn't tell which one. The older Daniel slowly raised his hand. "Don't listen to him." The Daniel on the stairs smiled. "That's exactly what I told you." My stomach dropped. "What does that mean?" The older Daniel looked at me. "Every version believes they are the original." The Daniel on the stairs walked down 1 step. "Because every version has the same memories." Another step. "The same childhood. The same family. The same fears. The same dreams." He smiled. "So tell me, Daniel, how do you prove you are real?" I had no answer, because he was right. A memory doesn't prove anything. A feeling doesn't prove anything. Even pain doesn't prove anything. A copy could feel pain. A copy could cry. A copy could believe it was human. The older Daniel looked at the staircase. "You don't understand what you're dealing with." The first Daniel laughed softly. "No, I understand better than anyone." He touched the wall. "This place doesn't create copies. It removes uncertainty." I looked at him. "What does that mean?" He turned toward me. "It doesn't ask who is real. It asks who deserves to continue." Suddenly, every door in the hallway opened. All at once, apartment doors, dozens of them. Behind each door was darkness. Then I heard something. Whispers. Hundreds of whispers. Different voices. Different people. All saying the same thing. "Choose." The older Daniel grabbed my arm. "We need to leave." "Where?" "Anywhere." The first Daniel shook his head. "You still don't get it." He pointed toward the exit. "There's nowhere to go." The hallway stretched longer. The exit door moved farther away. The building was changing, like it was breathing. The walls slowly shifted. The pictures on the walls changed. Now they weren't strangers anymore. They were people I knew. My mother. My childhood friends. My old teachers. Everyone from my life. But there was something wrong. Every picture had 3 versions of me, standing in different places, different ages, different moments. I walked closer to one photo. It showed me at age 10, standing beside my parents. But in the background, there was another child. Me. Watching myself. I stepped back. "What is this?" The first Daniel answered. "The apartment has been recording you your entire life." My voice became quiet. "That's impossible." He looked at me. "Is it?" I thought about every strange moment in my life, the memories I couldn't explain, the dreams that felt too real, the moments when I felt like someone was watching me, the feeling that I had already lived certain moments before. I always ignored them. I called them coincidences. But now, I wasn't sure anymore. The older Daniel looked at me. "There is something you need to remember." "What?" "The night you moved into apartment 307. I didn't." I froze. "What?" He looked at me seriously. "You never moved there." My head started spinning. "What are you talking about?" "The apartment didn't appear after you arrived." "It appeared because you arrived." The first Daniel nodded. "Exactly. The apartment has been waiting for you." A loud ringing sound interrupted us. A phone. Not one phone. All of them. Every phone in the hallway started ringing. The three of us looked down. Our screens showed the same notification. New voicemail sender. Unknown, I'm in 3 years ago. I pressed play. Static. Then a voice. Not mine. Not the older Daniel's. A woman's voice. Daniel Carter. I froze. Because I knew that voice. It belonged to my mother. But my mother died when I was 17. The message continued. If you are hearing this, that means the apartment finally found you. I couldn't breathe. My mother's voice continued. I tried to protect you, but I failed. A pause. Then, Daniel, do not trust any version of yourself, because none of them are the first. The voicemail ended. The three Daniels looked at each other. Nobody spoke. Then the first Daniel whispered, "Your mother knew." I looked at him. Knew what? He pointed toward the end of the hallway. A door appeared. A door that wasn't there before. Apartment number 307. But this time, the number was different. It wasn't written on the door. It was carved into the wood. Like someone had scratched it from the inside. The older Daniel stepped back. No. What? His face went pale. That's not apartment 307. Then what is it? He whispered. That's where it started. The door slowly opened. Inside was not an apartment. It was a room. A small bedroom. A child's bedroom. I saw an old wooden desk, a bookshelf, a broken lamp, and on the wall, photographs, hundreds of photographs, all of me. But the oldest photo made me stop breathing. It showed a little boy, a child, standing beside a woman, my mother, and written underneath, Daniel Carter, subject number 307. The first Daniel looked at me. The older Daniel looked at me. Neither of them spoke, because they both understood something before I did. I wasn't the person who discovered apartment 307. I was the reason it existed. Then a final voicemail appeared. This time, from my own phone. The message had no timestamp, no sender, only one line. Welcome home, Daniel. The words stayed on my screen. Welcome home, Daniel. I stared at them, unable to understand what I was seeing. Home. That word shouldn't have meant anything, but somehow, it did. A strange feeling moved through me. Not fear, not exactly. Something worse. Recognition. Like some forgotten part of my mind had been waiting for this moment. The older Daniel noticed my expression. What do you remember? I looked at him. What? What do you remember about your childhood? The question seemed strange. My childhood? Yes. I tried to answer immediately, but I couldn't. My memories felt blurry. Not gone. Just incomplete. I remembered my school, my neighborhood, my old house. But whenever I tried to remember my bedroom, nothing. A blank space. A missing piece. The first Daniel watched me carefully. Exactly. I looked at him. What? You don't remember. Remember what? He walked toward the child's bedroom. The first time you entered this place. I followed him slowly. The room felt wrong. Not because it was scary, because it felt familiar. The old wooden desk, the faded wallpaper, the small bookshelf. I had never seen this room before. But I knew where everything was. I knew the drawer on the left side of the desk was stuck. I knew the third book on the shelf had a torn page. I knew the broken lamp only worked if you hit the side twice. I stopped. How did I know that? I walked to the desk. My hand touched the drawer. It opened immediately. Inside was a small notebook. The cover was damaged. The name written on it was Daniel. My name. I opened it. The handwriting was from a child. My handwriting. The first page said, Day 1. They told me not to be afraid. They said this was an experiment. My heart started beating faster. I turned the page. Day 14. The room can make copies now, but they don't know which one is me. Another page. Day 27. Mom says I have to forget. She says forgetting is the only way I can survive. I stopped. My fingers became cold. Mom. My mother. She was involved. I turned another page. The writing became messier, more desperate. Day 43. I heard another Daniel crying in the next room. He sounded exactly like me. I wanted to help him, but Dad said he wasn't real. My breathing became heavier. Dad? I never knew my father. At least, that's what I thought. The older Daniel was standing behind me. He looked at the notebook. You finally remember. I closed it. What was this? He didn't answer. Tell me. The hallway became silent. Then he said, You weren't born in a normal way. The words hit harder than anything else. What? The original Daniel. He looked toward the photographs. Was created here. I stepped backward. No. Your memories were implanted. No. Your childhood was constructed. Stop. Your family, he paused, was part of the experiment. I felt sick. Everything I knew, everything I believed, my entire life. Was it fake? The first Daniel walked closer. Don't listen to him. I looked at him. Why? Because he's lying. The older Daniel immediately reacted. Am I? The first Daniel smiled. Are you sure? The two of them stared at each other, and I realized something terrifying. They both sounded honest. A sound came from the child's bedroom, a small voice, a child's voice. Daniel? I froze. The voice came from inside the room. Daniel. I slowly turned. A little boy was sitting on the bed, maybe 8 years old. He looked exactly like me. Same eyes, same face, same scar, except he looked terrified. The little boy held a stuffed animal and whispered, Which one are you? Nobody answered. The child looked at me, then at the other two Daniels. I've been waiting for the right one. I couldn't speak. Who are you? The boy looked down. I'm the first. The room went silent. The first Daniel stepped back. No, the older Daniel whispered. Impossible. The child looked at all of us. You all came later. You all think you are the original. But you aren't. He pointed at the photographs. The experiment didn't create copies of Daniel. It created replacements. The child stood up. Slowly, the lights flickered. The walls began changing. The old bedroom disappeared. The hallway returned. But something was different. All the pictures on the walls were now empty, except one. The final photograph. It showed 4 Daniels. The child. The younger me. The older me. And me. Underneath the picture was a sentence. The final test requires 1 survivor. The child smiled. Now we can begin. A phone started ringing. The black phone from apartment 307 appeared on the floor. Nobody moved. Nobody wanted to touch it. Then the child walked toward it, picked it up, and handed it to me. You should hear this. My hands shook. I pressed play. Static. Then, a voice. My own voice. But this time, it sounded different. Calm, confident, almost emotionless. The message said, Daniel, you spent your entire life trying to find out who you are. But you never asked the most important question. A pause. Why were you created? The message ended. The child looked at me. Now you know. I stared at him. What happens next? The child smiled. The real Daniel chooses. Suddenly, every door in the hallway opened. Behind each door was another version of me. Hundreds, maybe thousands, all standing silently, watching, waiting, and every single one of them whispered, "Choose." The hallway was filled with faces. My face, hundreds of versions of me standing behind every open door. Some looked young, some looked old, some looked exactly like me. But the most terrifying thing was their eyes. Every single one of them was watching, waiting, judging, like they already knew the choice I was going to make. The child Daniel stood in front of me, completely calm, like this was just another normal day. "Why are they here?" I asked. The child looked around. "They are the ones who failed." My stomach tightened. Failed what? He looked at me, being Daniel. The older Daniel stepped forward. "Don't listen to him." The child looked at him. "You always say that." The older Daniel froze. "You remember?" The child smiled. "I remember everything." A silence filled the hallway. The first Daniel looked confused. "You knew about all of this?" The child nodded. "I was here before any of you." He touched the wall. "This place was built around me." I looked at the three versions of myself. The child, the first Daniel, the older Daniel, and me. 4 people. 1 identity. But something bothered me. A question that wouldn't leave my mind. "If you're the original," I looked at the child, "why don't I remember you?" The child's expression changed. For the first time, he looked sad. "Because they took that away from you." "Who?" "My parents." The hallway lights flickered. The child continued. "They thought if they erased your memories, they could control you. They thought they could create the perfect version." The older Daniel looked at him. "Who were they?" The child didn't answer. He walked toward one of the photographs. The image changed. Now it showed 2 scientists, a man and a woman, standing inside apartment 307. Behind them was a machine, a large metal structure connected to dozens of wires. The child pointed. "My parents created the memory transfer system." I stared at the image. "What does it do?" The child looked at me. "It moves a person's memories from one body to another." My face went cold. "Why?" "Because they were trying to defeat death." The first Daniel laughed quietly. "Of course." Everyone looked at him. He shook his head. "That's why the apartment exists." The older Daniel looked at him. "What are you talking about?" "The apartment isn't haunted. The apartment is a machine." The child nodded. "Exactly." A cold feeling moved through me. "So all of this, the voicemails, the copies, the replacements," the child answered, "all attempts to create a version of Daniel that can survive forever." I looked at the other versions. Suddenly, I noticed something. Every single one of them looked different. Different ages, different clothes, different injuries. But one thing was the same. They all looked tired, like they had been fighting the same battle forever. "How many Daniels are there?" The child looked down. "Too many." "How many failed?" he whispered. "All of them." The black phone started ringing again. Everyone became silent. The child looked at me. "This one is important." I picked it up. My hands were shaking. A voicemail appeared. No number. No date. Only original recording. I pressed play. Static. Then a voice. A woman's voice. My mother's voice. But younger. "Daniel." I closed my eyes. I hadn't heard her voice in years. "I know you were scared." A pause. "But if you are hearing this, it means the system worked." I looked at the child. His face changed. My mother continued. I made a mistake. The machine wasn't saving people. It was copying them. My breathing stopped. Every time we transferred memories, we didn't move a person. We created another one. A long pause. Then, the original Daniel died years ago. Silence. The phone almost slipped from my hand. The child looked at me. The older Daniel looked at me. The first Daniel looked at me. My mother's voice continued. If there are multiple Daniels, none of them are the original, because the original is gone. Nobody spoke. The truth felt worse than any monster. There was no original, no real Daniel. No answer. Just copies searching for something that didn't exist. The child sat down. For the first time, he looked small. I told you. We are all replacements. I looked at him. Then why does this place need one survivor? The child looked toward the end of the hallway. A new door appeared, different from all the others. White, clean, perfect. On the door was a single word. Exit. The child smiled. Because only one version can leave. The first, Daniel stepped forward. Which one? The child looked at me. The one who proves they are human. The white door opened. Behind it was darkness. Then a voice came from inside. Not mine, not my mother's. Something else. Something that had been watching everything. It spoke. Begin final evaluation. The hallway changed. The doors disappeared. The other versions vanished. Only 4 Daniels remained. A screen appeared on the wall. 3 questions. Question 1. What is your first memory? The first Daniel answered immediately. My mother, holding my hand. The screen flashed. False. The older Daniel answered. Moving into Willow Creek Apartments. The screen flashed. False. The child answered quietly. Being alone in this room. The screen flashed. Partially true. Everyone looked at me. It was my turn. I tried to think. My first memory. Something real. Something impossible to fake. Then I remembered. A sound. A smell. A feeling. A small moment. I whispered. My mother crying. The screen stayed blank. Then words appeared. Unknown. The room became silent. The voice returned. Interesting. You're the first one who remembers pain instead of an event. The child looked at me. The older Daniel looked worried. The first Daniel looked afraid. Because they all understood something. The test wasn't asking who remembered the most. It was asking who felt the most human. Then the screen changed. Question 2. What is the one thing you fear losing most? I looked at the question, and for the first time, I knew the answer. But before I could speak, the white door slammed shut, and from behind it, someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. The child whispered, No. I looked at him. What? His face had gone pale. That's impossible. What is it? He looked at the door and said, Another Daniel. Knock, knock, knock! The sound echoed through the hallway. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Because everyone in that room knew one thing. There should only be 4 of us. The child, Daniel. The first Daniel. The older Daniel. And me. But something was standing behind that door. Something that wasn't supposed to exist. The voice from the system spoke again. Additional subject detected. The screen flickered. The words appeared. Subject numbered double. Oh, the older Daniel took a step back. No. I looked at him. You know what that means. His face was filled with fear. Yes. What? He stared at the white door. That means we were never the first experiment. The door handle slowly turned. Everyone prepared for something terrible. But when the door opened, nothing happened. No creature. No monster. No shadow. Just a person. A man. Standing there, wearing a gray jacket, holding an old black phone. He looked normal. Too normal. The man looked at us, then smiled. Finally, his voice was calm. I was wondering how long it would take. The child Daniel stepped backward. "Who are you?" The man looked at him. "You already know." The child shook his head. "No." The man smiled. "I was here before you." The system screen changed. A new message appeared. Subject number 000 confirmed original memory holder. My heart stopped. Original. That word shouldn't exist. The child looked confused. The first Daniel looked angry. The older Daniel looked terrified. I looked at the man. "Who are you?" He walked closer. "My name is Daniel Carter." I felt sick. "No," he smiled. "Yes." The older Daniel whispered, "That's impossible." The man looked at him. "You should know better than anyone." The man walked toward the wall. He touched one of the photographs. The picture changed. It showed a small child. But not the child Daniel. A younger version. Maybe 5 years old. Standing beside 2 scientists. The man pointed. Before the apartment. Before the copies. Before the replacements. There was only me. The child stared at the picture. "What happened?" The man looked at him. "They made a mistake." He explained everything. The original experiment was never about creating copies. It was about preserving memories. The scientists believed a person was nothing more than information. Memories. Experiences. Personality. They thought if they could save those things, they could defeat death. But they were wrong. Because a person is not just memories. A copy with the same memories is still a different person. The machine didn't transfer a soul. It created duplicates. Thousands of them. Each one believing they were real. Each one searching for the same answer. "Who am I?" I looked at the original Daniel. "Then why are you here?" He looked at me. "Because I was never allowed to leave." The hallway became silent. The machine kept me alive. Not physically. Something worse. He pointed toward the walls. I became part of the system. A cold feeling moved through me. "You mean?" "I became apartment 307. Nobody spoke. The child looked horrified. The older Daniel closed his eyes. The first Daniel whispered, "That's why the messages came from Daniel." The original nodded. Every voicemail, every warning, every recording was me. I looked at my phone, the black phone, the strange messages, everything, all from him. "But why?" I asked. "Why did you bring us here?" The original Daniel looked at me. "Because I needed to know something." "What?" He stepped closer. Which version of me would choose differently? The screen changed again. The final evaluation disappeared. A new message appeared. Purpose of test. Identify successful human consciousness. The original Daniel continued. After thousands of attempts, I discovered something. Every version was the same. They all wanted to survive. They all wanted to escape. They all wanted to prove they were real. He looked at the child. Until you arrived. The child looked confused. Me? The original nodded. You were different. Why? Because you were the only one who didn't ask if you were real. The child looked down. You asked if you were loved. That sentence hit me harder than anything, because I remembered. A memory. Not from the machine. Not from a voicemail. A real feeling. A child sitting alone, waiting, hoping someone would come back. I remembered my mother. Not her face, not her voice. Just one thing, her hand, holding mine, and saying, "No matter what happens, you are my son." The system suddenly activated. Red lights flashed. Warning sounds filled the hallway. Error: multiple valid subjects detected. The original Daniel looked surprised. "No." "What?" He looked at me. The machine found more than one. The floor started shaking. The walls cracked. From every doorway, more Daniels appeared. Not hundreds, thousands. The failed versions, the forgotten versions, the ones who never escaped. All looking toward us, all whispering, "Choose us. Save us. Remember us." The older Daniel grabbed my shoulder. "We need to go." "Where?" He pointed toward the white door. "The exit." But it closed. The original Daniel looked at me. "No." Everyone turned. The original pointed at me. It didn't close. It was waiting. I looked at the white door. A message appeared. "Final subject required." Then another message. "Only one may carry the memory." The child looked at me. The older Daniel looked at me. The first Daniel looked at me. The original Daniel looked at me. And suddenly, I understood. The door wasn't asking who was real. It wasn't asking who was the original. It was asking something else. Something much harder. Who would sacrifice themselves so another could live? The original Daniel whispered. "Now we find out." The white door opened. A bright light appeared. And from inside, I heard my mother's voice. "Daniel, come home." I stepped toward the door, but before I entered, my phone vibrated. One final voicemail appeared. This time, the sender wasn't Daniel. It was, "Mom, the timestamp. Tomorrow, 2:13 a.m. I pressed play. Her voice whispered, "Danielle, whatever you do, don't open the door." A pause. Then, "Because I am not the one calling you." Behind me, someone started laughing. A familiar laugh. My laugh. I turned around and saw something standing among the thousands of Daniels. Something none of us had noticed before. A version of me, standing in the darkness, smiling. The original Daniel whispered, "That's the one we were running from." The hallway became silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that feels like the entire world is waiting for something to happen. Thousands of Daniels stood around us, but every single one of them was looking at the same thing. The figure standing in the darkness. Another version of me. Except different. He wasn't confused. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't searching for answers. He looked like someone who already knew everything. The version of me slowly stepped forward. The original Daniel looked at him with fear. "How long have you been here?" The figure smiled. "Since the beginning." The child Daniel whispered, "No." The figure looked at him. "You were never the first." The child stepped backward. "Then who are you?" The figure looked at me and answered, "I am the first successful Daniel." My mind went completely blank. Successful? What does that mean? The figure smiled. "It means I stopped asking questions." He walked closer. Every Daniel before me wanted to know if they were real. They wanted proof. They wanted memories. They wanted answers. He looked around, and that weakness destroyed them. The older Daniel clenched his fists. "What did you do?" The figure looked at him. "I accepted the truth." The lights flickered. The system voice returned. But this time, it sounded different. Almost human. Final subject identified. Subject number 001. Stability, 100%. The original Daniel looked shocked. Impossible. The successful Daniel smiled. You created me. The original shook his head. No. Yes. You wanted a version that could survive without doubt. The figure pointed at himself. That was me. I stared at him. Then why are you hiding? He looked at me. Because you were never supposed to exist. The words hit me. What? He walked closer. The machine created thousands of copies. All failures. Except one. Him. He pointed at the child, then at the older Daniel, then at me. All of you were experiments. Different emotional responses. Different personalities. Different versions. But you, he looked directly into my eyes. You are the only one who feels incomplete. I didn't understand. What does that mean? He smiled. It means you still have humanity. The hallway became silent. The original Daniel looked confused. The successful Daniel continued. I thought emotions were the problem. I thought fear, love, sadness, and attachment made humans weak. So I removed them. And I became perfect. But then I realized something. He looked at all the failed Daniels. Without those things, you don't become perfect. You become empty. The system started flashing. Final decision required: select one memory holder. The white door appeared again. The exit. The original Daniel looked at me. You have to choose. Choose what? Who carries everything outside? My stomach dropped. The memory? He nodded. One person leaves. The others disappear. The child Daniel walked toward me. I don't want to disappear. His voice was small, like a scared child. I just wanted my life back. The older Daniel looked at me. I spent years trying to escape. I thought survival was everything. He looked at the child. But maybe I was wrong. The first Daniel remained silent. Then he said, I remember something. Everyone looked at him. My first voicemail. He looked at me. It wasn't a warning. It was a goodbye. The successful Daniel laughed. You still don't understand. He stepped forward. The strongest version survives. The one who chooses himself. He looked at me. That's what humans do. I looked at him. No. He stopped. What? I shook my head. That's what you learned. A silence filled the hallway. Humans aren't just survivors. They're people who care about someone else. The system began counting. 294. The successful Daniel looked confused. What are you doing? I walked toward the white door. 87. I choose all of us. The system stopped. Error. The successful Daniel's expression changed. No. The original Daniel looked at me. What did you do? I touched the door. I didn't choose who deserves to live. I chose that nobody should decide that. The entire building started collapsing. The walls cracked. The thousands of Daniels began disappearing. But something strange happened. They weren't screaming. They weren't afraid. They were smiling, like they were finally free. The child Daniel looked at me. Thank you. Then he vanished. The older Daniel smiled. I knew you would. Then he disappeared. The first Daniel was the last. Before disappearing, he said, Now you know who you are. The successful Daniel remained, alone. The perfect version. The emotionless version. The one who thought he won. He looked at me. You think you defeated me? I looked at him. No. Then what? I understand you. For the first time, he looked afraid, because understanding something is sometimes more powerful than destroying it. The white door opened. Light filled the hallway. The successful Daniel looked toward it, but he couldn't move. The system displayed subject number 001. Failed reason. Lack of human connection. I walked through the door. I woke up in my apartment. My real apartment. Sunlight was coming through the window. My phone was beside me. No strange apps. No black phone. No voicemails. For the first time in weeks, everything felt normal. I packed my things. I left Willow Creek Apartments that same day. Nobody stopped me. Nobody remembered apartment 307. When I asked Mr. Reynolds about it, he looked confused. There has never been an apartment 307 here. I smiled. Maybe that was better. Some things should stay forgotten. Months passed. I started a new life. A normal life. At least, I thought it was normal. Until one night, exactly 2:13 a.m. My phone rang. I froze. I hadn't heard that sound in months. Slow, old-fashioned, impossible. I looked at the screen. One new voicemail. Sender. Daniel Carter. My hands shook. I pressed play. Static. Then my own voice. But this time, it wasn't afraid. It wasn't warning me. It was smiling. The voice said, "Daniel, you made the right choice." A pause. Then, "But you forgot one thing." The recording ended. A new message appeared. Attachment. Apartment_307.mp4. I stared at it. Because I knew I should delete it. I should throw away my phone. I should walk away. But curiosity is dangerous, especially when the answer is waiting. I opened the video. The screen showed a hallway, an old apartment building, a door, number 307. The camera slowly moved closer. The door opened, and inside, standing in the darkness, was me, looking directly into the camera. He smiled and whispered, "See you soon."